Hola y bienvenido a Learn Spanish in SpanishDitch.com. Soy Paralee Whitmire y soy tu profesora. Today you'll be learning about the present progressive tense using clothing vocabulary like estoy comprando dos camisas, estás llevando pantalones y mucho más. ¡Vámonos! When I travel abroad, I love checking out the clothing. It's always so different and interesting. Today we'll be using clothing vocabulary to talk about what a person is wearing, is buying, or is describing. This is the present progressive, and it's pretty simple in Spanish and in English. And it works just about the same way. You just need the form of the verb for to be, which in English is, or am, or are. And in Spanish, you'll be using the verb estar, which you learned about in the last lesson. There are progressive tenses for pretty much all of the tenses, just like in English. I am doing, I was doing, I will be doing. But today, we're just going to focus on the present progressive. Am, is, and are doing. But in Espanol, I'm using the verb estar. Okay, like I said, the present progressive is made up of two verbs. If we look at this sentence, she is buying a belt. What are the two verbs? Is buying. Is what you call a helping verb or an auxiliary verb, and buying is a gerund. Gerunds in English end in ing. You might know them as ing verbs. And in Spanish, it works exactly the same way. Está comprando un cinturón. She is buying a belt. Está is the helping or auxiliary verb, and it's the third person conjugation of our verb estar. This is the only verb in the sentence that you need to conjugate to the subject. Now, the subject in this sentence is she, right? What's the Spanish form for she? Ella. So you need to conjugate estar to ella, which is está. Now the next part, the gerund. There are two different forms of gerunds, one ending for AR verbs and another ending for ER and IR verbs. But you don't need to conjugate this depending on who the subject is. The ending for a gerund will always be the same, no matter how many people or in what tense you're doing it. Let's look at our sentence again. Está comprando un cinturón. If está is the helping verb, which one of these is the gerund? Comprando. So if we take a look at our gerund, comprando, can you tell me which kind of verb it is? Is it AR, ER, or IR? Just make a guess. AR. So if it's an AR verb, what do you think the infinitive could be for comprando? If you said comprar, you're absolutely right. Now, if we look at our infinitive, comprar, right next to our gerund, comprando, what's the difference? The ending, of course. So, if we start conjugating comprar just like we would in the simple present tense, what's the first step? Take off the infinitive ending, right? So that leaves us with C-O-M-P-R. Now, if we take C-O-M-P-R off of our gerund, what does that leave us with? A-N-D-O. Do you think this is the ending for the gerund for all AR verbs? It sure is. Comprando. Now, we just went over one of the most important clothing verbs, comprar, to buy. Can you tell me what the gerund form would be for llevar, to wear? Llevando. Take off the AR and add A-N-D-O. And this works for all AR verbs. Okay, are you ready for a little bit of practice? I'm going to give you all the basic forms of the verbs, and you're going to conjugate them for me. They're all AR verbs, so nothing new yet. But you are going to have to conjugate estar to the pronoun in parentheses